Welcome to Through the Looking Glass, where we take a look at current Catholic world news and events that affect the Catholic world. The Amazon Synod has come to an end, however much lingers in the aftermath. One of the topics of conversation is around the courageous group of young Catholic men who, after witnessing what they saw as the breaking of the first commandment, went into the church in Rome and removed some 5 pagan idols, throwing them into the Tiber River. People around the world were curious as to who these men were, and there was divided opinion, with the men being hailed as heroes and branded as thieves. This week, one of the leaders of the group, a young Austrian, Alexander Tschugguel, decided to go public and to give an official on-camera interview to a couple of Catholic media outlets. To view these interviews, please click on the links at the bottom of the page. Archbishop Vigano is calling for the reconsecration of St. Peters Basilica in light of what he calls the appalling idolatrous profanations that have been committed in its walls through the veneration of the Pachamama statue. In an interview with a Catholic news reporter regarding the Amazon Synod, Archbishop Vigano speaks to how both clergy and laity, I quote, cannot remain indifferent to the idolatrous acts that we witnessed. And he continues by saying that it is urgent that we rediscover the meaning of prayer, reparation and penance, of fasting, and above all, of silent and prolonged adoration before the Blessed Sacrament. The New York City Council has banned the sale of foie gras, saying it involves animal cruelty. Ducks are force-fed to ensure fattened livers. It joins California in making the sale illegal. This legislation in New York was sponsored by Carlina Rivera. She has said that her legislation, I quote, tackles the most inhumane process, unquote, and has called it, continuing, one of the most violent practices. In January, Rivera celebrated a new law which made New York City the first city to allocate funds strictly for abortion, money being earmarked for the transportation expenses of women coming to New York from other states to abort their babies. In the same month, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a bill that allows abortion right up to the moment of birth, as well as dropping all penalties against doctors who intentionally allow a baby to die as a result of a botched abortion. California represents more than 15% of all abortions in the United States, yet will not tolerate the sale of foie gras. Last week, South Carolina priest Father Robert Maury denied Holy Communion to Joe Biden, former US Vice President and current Democrat presidential candidate, because of his public support for abortion. This has drawn both praise and criticism. Well-known Jesuit Father James Martin tweeted, "Denying communion to politicians, Democrats or Republican, is a bad idea. If you deny the sacrament to those who support abortion, then you must also deny it to those who support the death penalty. How about those who don't help the poor? How about Laudato Si? Where does it end?" Father Z, a Catholic priest and blogger, countered this on his blog, saying, "A priest doesn't have to know the state of the soul of the public person in front of him. If he knows that public person, well known, has been doing very bad things without any move to correct the harm he caused, the priest, by Canon 915, must deny him communion." In his 2004 memorandum, Worthiness to Receive Holy Communion, General Principles, Pope Benedict XVI, then Cardinal Ratzinger, head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, clearly addressed this issue when he wrote, "Not all moral issues have the same moral weight as abortion and euthanasia." He continues that, ideally, the pastor should meet with a Catholic who is publicly persisting in manifest grave sin, understood in the case of a Catholic politician as his consistently campaigning and voting for permissive abortion and euthanasia laws, to instruct and warn him. "Holy Communion signifies we are one with God, each other and the Church," said Father Maury when defending his decision to the Florence Morning News. "Our actions should reflect that. Any public figure who advocates for abortion places himself or herself outside of the Church teaching." According to Canon 915 of the Catholic Code of Canon Law, those who are obstinately persevering in manifest grave sin are not to be admitted to Holy Communion. Delta Airlines agreed to demands from pro-homosexual advocates that it stop censoring explicit homosexual sex scenes from in-flight movies. In a statement, however, Delta has claimed that it had not requested that homosexual content be removed from movies shown on its flights. We value our in-flight entertainment options as a means to reflect the diversity of the world, a company statement said. We are reviewing the processes of our third-party editing vendors to ensure that they are aligned with our values of diversity and inclusion. Pro-life advocates are arguing that watching a film on an aeroplane is not a private matter because screens can be viewed by neighboring passengers, including children. Delta Airlines had previously received the highest rating of LGBTQ compliance from the Pro-Homosexual Human Rights Campaign and its Corporate Equality Index. Traditional Catholic parishes run by a society of priests are growing in the United States, an encouraging trend in light of the fact that the broader Catholic Church in America has seen a decline over the past few decades. Parishes run by the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter, a society of priests dedicated to celebrating the traditional Latin form of the Catholic liturgy, have reported large increases in Sunday Mass attendance over the past year. The beautiful traditional liturgy, drawing parishioners and non-parishioners alike, is the form of the Mass that was celebrated prior to the reforms instituted at the Second Vatican Council in the 1960s. One Naples parishioner, Greg Kolka, was a Protestant who converted to Catholicism, but first attended a standard American Catholic parish. The traditional liturgy has proved transformative for him, and he described it as, I quote, something that has formed from the heart of the Church to form us into better people. He added that there's this big lie that the traditional stuff is legalistic and rigid. I have found it to be anything but, he continued. Kolka wonders whether less traditional Catholicism could account for the decline in faith. I think the jury is still out on whether or not more modern forms of Catholicism are doing a good job at transmitting the faith, said Kolka. From me, Ange, and the Quid Verum team, that is all for now. Please pray for our church, and in this month of All Saints and All Souls, let us remember to pray for the faithful departed. May St. Michael protect us all. God bless.